By 8 p.m. on Sunday, Massachusetts State Police had responded to 149 crashes. 7 people were injured. 234 vehicles were disabled on the side of the road. And here is what I want to talk about. This was not even the worst of it yet. Think about that for a second. It was Sunday evening, and the snow was still coming down. There were 149 crashes already, and the storm had another full day to go. This is Massachusetts' biggest winter storm in 4 years, and state police were just getting started. Here is what happened. The storm hit Sunday morning, January 26th. Governor Maura Healey was at the State Emergency Operations Center in Framingham, saying, "This is the biggest storm we have seen in years," and telling people to stay home, watch the Pats game, and not to go anywhere. But you know what people did? They went out anyway. And look, I get it. You think you can handle snow. You are from Massachusetts. You have done this before. But this was different. Gloucester ended up with 27 inches. Logan Airport in Boston recorded 23.2 inches, making this the 8th biggest snowstorm in Boston's recorded history. Sterling got over 25 inches. Ipswich, Princeton, and Milton were all over 2 feet. State police were out on the roads, and by Sunday at 8 in the evening, they had already dealt with 149 crashes. There were 7 injuries, and thankfully no fatalities from those crashes. But 234 disabled vehicles meant troopers were running all over the Commonwealth, pulling cars out of snowbanks, helping people who had slid off, and dealing with vehicles that could not make it. Now here's where it gets interesting. Those numbers from Sunday at 8 p.m., that's just the preliminary count. The real totals came out Monday when state police released the full picture. Between Sunday and 4 p.m. Monday, they responded to 222 crashes total, 12 injuries, 402 disabled vehicles, 4 abandoned vehicles, and 13 motorist assist calls, so the crash count went from 149 to 222. That's 73 more crashes overnight, Sunday into Monday, and through Monday afternoon. The disabled vehicle count more than doubled from 234 to 402. But let's talk about what was happening on the ground while this was going down. The Massachusetts Department of Transportation, MassDOT, had over 3,000 pieces of equipment deployed across the state. Plows, spreaders, the whole operation. They had pre-treated the highways, positioned crews, and followed emergency plans. Highway Administrator Jonathan Gulliver said it could take up to 4 hours to fully clear roads after the storm peaked. Gulliver implemented a Level 3 truck ban, no tractor trailers, no RVS, no box trucks, unless delivering essential supplies like medical items, food, or fuel. The speed limit on the Mass Pike dropped from 65 to 40. Governor Healey told non-essential state employees to work from home on Monday, and she asked private employers to do the same. Even so, the roads were still packed with people trying to get places. At Logan Airport, 745 flights were canceled on Sunday, and another 53 were delayed. If you were trying to fly out of Boston that weekend, good luck. One passenger flew in from Dallas for a wedding in Salem. Everyone had told him not to come except the people getting married, and he ended up stranded at Logan overnight when his flight home was canceled. The MBTA ran commuter rail on reduced storm schedules, about a third of their regular weekday service. The Mattapan line was suspended completely and replaced with shuttle buses to protect those nearly 80-year-old trolley cars. Dozens of bus routes operated on snow roads to avoid steep hills and narrow streets. This left transit service significantly reduced for many riders. Schools across Massachusetts shut down on Monday. Many districts also called closures for Tuesday because cleanup was taking so long, and parking lots, sidewalks, and bus stops were not ready. Boston, Brockton, Cambridge, and Worcester, all the major districts, stayed closed on Tuesday. But here is what I think is worth paying attention to. Power outages were relatively minor. Early Monday morning, the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency reported 3,192 outages statewide. Most of those, 2,206, were in Andover. Governor Healy had said beforehand they were not expecting widespread outages because this was light, fluffy snow, not the heavy, wet snow that takes down power lines. And she was right. Compare that to other states hit by the same storm system, and Massachusetts got off easy on the power front. Now, there was one storm-related death, and it is not what you would think. A 47-year-old woman and her 51-year-old husband were walking in the MBTA Norwood Central parking lot on Sunday afternoon when a private contractor driving a Ford F-350 plow truck backed into them. The woman died. Her husband was hospitalized with injuries that were not life-threatening. The driver stayed on scene. Transit Police Superintendent Richard Sullivan confirmed it. That is the tragedy of this storm, not from crashes on highways, but from someone trying to clear a parking lot. So let's get back to state police and what 222 crashes actually looks like. That is 222 times a trooper had to respond to a scene. They had to make sure everyone was okay, and they had to figure out if vehicles could be moved or if they needed to be towed. They had to manage traffic around the crash site while snow was still falling and visibility was terrible. 12 of those crashes resulted in injuries, which meant ambulances, possible hospital transports, and the whole emergency response chain was activated. And the 402 disabled vehicles, that is not even counting the crashes. That is just people whose cars gave up, slid into a ditch, got stuck in snow, ran out of gas while sitting in traffic, or had other problems. State police had to assist with all of those too. Compare this to what Indiana State Police dealt with that same weekend. Indiana had 828 crashes in total and 500 slide-offs. Massachusetts had 222 crashes and 402 disabled vehicles. Different scale, but both states got hammered. The thing about Massachusetts, though, is that Boston had not seen a snowstorm this big since January 2022, almost 4 years earlier. That was when 8.5 inches fell on February 25th, 2022. Before this storm, Boston had only received 10.7 inches total for the entire 2025 to 2026 winter season up to that point. So when 23.2 inches drops, in basically 36 hours, the whole system gets stressed. And it was not just the immediate storm response. The aftermath lasted days. By Tuesday, the MBTA was still reporting major delays and cancellations on commuter rail lines because of switch problems and equipment issues. Trains were running up to an hour behind schedule. The Red Line was having problems because its oldest cars were struggling in single-digit temperatures. On Wednesday, there were more delays. On Thursday, more cancellations. Roads took time to clear too. Even with 3,000 plus pieces of Mass DOT equipment working around the clock, you cannot instantly clear 23 inches of snow from every road in the Commonwealth. Residential streets took the longest. Some neighborhoods in Boston were still dealing with massive snow piles days later. Governor Healy said Sunday from the State Emergency Operations Center that this is not a storm to be out in. For folks who are on the road right now, get off the road. She also told people to give plows room to work and to stay as far behind them as possible. But people did not listen, and that is why state police ended up with 222 crashes. I am not here to judge anyone who had to drive during the storm. Maybe you had to get to work. Maybe you had an emergency. Maybe you thought you could handle it. But the numbers do not lie. 149 crashes by Sunday at 8 p.m., then 73 more between Sunday night and Monday at 4 p.m. That works out to roughly one crash every 12 minutes during a 15-hour period. State police were not just dealing with crashes and disabled vehicles. They were also managing a Level 3 truck ban, enforcing reduced speed limits, and coordinating with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation on road closures. They worked with local departments across every municipality hit by the storm, providing critical coordination. The storm finally wrapped up Monday night around midnight. By that point, Boston had recorded 23.2 inches officially at Logan Airport. Worcester had 22.4 inches, making it the 9th biggest snowstorm on record there. Gloucester reported 27 inches, the highest total in the state. Only about a dozen places across Massachusetts topped 25 inches, and widespread areas received between 20 and 24 inches. That was a record event for many communities. This storm happened during an extreme cold snap. On the 2 days before the snow hit, wind chills were below zero across much of Massachusetts. Actual temperatures were in the single digits and low teens. Then, the snow came Sunday and Monday, and temperatures stayed below freezing all week. Nothing melted. Every inch that fell stayed right where it landed until crews could clear it. The conditions were simply freezing. So when you think about state police responding to 149 crashes by Sunday at 8 p.m., and then 222 total by Monday at 4 p.m., plus 402 disabled vehicles, plus 4 abandoned vehicles, plus 13 motorist assists, all while working in below freezing temperatures with snow still falling, you start to understand the scale of what they dealt with. Boston experienced its 8th biggest snowstorm on record. It had been 4 years since the last major snow event. More than 3,000 pieces of equipment from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation were deployed. 745 Logan flights were canceled. Commuter rail ran at 1/3 capacity. Schools were closed for 2 days straight. Through all of it, state police kept the roads as safe as they could, responded to every crash, and helped every stranded motorist. Massachusetts got buried under 2 feet of snow in 36 hours, and state police handled 222 crashes with only 12 injuries and 0 crash-related fatalities. That is the story.